Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. If you're an old person like me, high schooler in the '70s, obviously one of the bands that dominated the airwaves was the Eagles, and there were other great bands of that same genre. Some call it Southern rock, Southern Cal rock, whatever you want to call it. Nowadays, everybody wants to throw all the bands into Americana, and that's fine. But, it just seemed like back in those days, along with some of the other bands I listened to, that sound really grabbed me because to me, as a Southern boy growing up out west, I loved that sound of the Eagles and some of the others. But and the Southern rock bands like the Allman Brothers and those guys. Well, there's a new generation of people growing up through the ranks who love that work. They're younger than us, but man, do they have the talent. And one of those bands is Robert Jon and The Wreck. I just discovered them recently, but this is their ninth album that they have coming out. It's called Red Moon Rising. You see it here behind me, and it is phenomenal. And I went back and listened to their other work, and I'm embarrassed to say it. I hate that I'm just now discovering him, but these guys are phenomenal. The album's great. You definitely want it in your personal collection. I encourage you to go back and get their others too. And if they're coming near you, please go see them because man, these guys put on a live show from what I've seen on video, and I want to see them in person myself. So please check these guys out. Please listen to this interview because it's a lot of fun. It's with Robert Jon, and a very nice guy to talk to, very informative, and I think you'll enjoy the chat. And if you would, when you're done listening to it, hit like, hit subscribe. It's free and it helps us out a lot. And please share this with your friends who might like this kind of interview and ask them to do the same, to hit like and subscribe. So without any further ado, here's my first interview of what I hope are many more to come with Robert Jon of Robert Jon and The Wreck. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Hey, where are you dialing in from?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Southern band in Yankee territory. How's that working for you?
I'll let you know after the show tonight. No, it's a cool place. We've been here before, so
yeah,
it's good people.
Well, good deal. Well, I know you're busy, so we'll cut to the chase. Just for those who haven't heard of you and the band before, won't you tell viewers a bit about?
Yeah, we're called Robert Jon and The Wreck, and we hail from Southern California, and we've been going since 2011, just playing music, making records, and having a good time.
What part of Southern Cal?
Orange County.
Oh, okay. All right. I grew up in Phoenix, a few hours east of there. So,
yeah.
But so I know I've read some other interviews, and I guess there's some discussion of how you would place yourself genre-wise on the band. What would you tell viewers? I know what I think I would call you, but how do you view your band?
I mean, we call it Southern Californian rock. I mean, that's where we're from, and we just play what we love,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, put that Southern rock label on, and that's okay with us. I think it helps people to, understand what you're listening to, to put labels on things, and so it works for us. We don't mind, but we call it Southern California rock.
Right in there with the Eagles, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So this new album that you have out, wow. I mean, and forgive me, but I've only recently discovered you guys, but I was stunned to find out this is album number 9, if I counted correctly.
It's one of those. I've barely been able to keep track. So
what's the story behind this album?
We were, there's not too much about it other than we were, on the road quite a bit, and we were writing a lot on the road. We were using sound checks to come up with ideas and, putting things together because we didn't have a lot of time at home like we usually do.
Yeah.
But we got in with Kevin Shirley to produce it, and we recorded at Village Studios in LA, where some amazing records have been done, and it was we had a blast.
I'm going to ask a question I had down for later, but since you brought his name up, I mean, wow, Kevin Shirley. What was it like working with him?
It's great. I mean, we were friends before we worked together. I mean, we've known him for a few years from being on the Joe Bonamassa cruise, and getting to know people on there. So it was really comfortable. It wasn't. We had done a couple tracks with him prior to that. Sunset Sound in LA.
Mhm.
We used for, I think, the Right Into the Light album. So yeah, it wasn't. It felt very natural to us. Just hanging out with a buddy and we're making some music.
He's somebody I'm dying to interview someday with his history and everything he's touched. Wow. I mean, so when I
Yeah,
saw he produced you, I could it came out, man, through the album. I mean, it was I mean, he has a magic touch, doesn't he?
yeah, yeah. It's great. You just hearing things that we don't hear. Is the best part about a producer.
How was this album different for you guys than the other albums and anything else that you've worked on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we tried our best to take a little bit of time with the writing as much as we could. And just making sure that every track felt that we felt something out of it, and we hope to for someone to feel something out of it, and kind of taking new directions with things as we see fit. I mean, Red Moon Rising is much more of a funk driven jam, it's maybe with some psychedelia in it, was something that we probably wouldn't have attempted to do in the past. And Worried Mind is just a fun acoustic track, and
I
um,
love
you
that
know,
song.
and yeah, and then songs like Give Love just having a little bit more meaning to it, and letting the song just kind of breathe through, instead of hitting you over the head so many times. But we just kind of take, I don't know, we're having fun writing music, and making it feel good, and all of us in the room together making that feel together is a great place to be.
You guys, I want to come back to that in a moment, but another unscripted question I had was, you guys are a bit younger than me, and but yet you seem to, you grasp this classic, I'll put it in a broader genre of classic rock. I agree with you.
Sure.
Southern rock, Southern California rock is more precise, as you put it. But you guys have grasped it so well compared to
Yeah.
maybe some other bands in your same age group there. And
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking down to you. Please don't take it that way. I wish I was your age again. But you guys have got it, you've grasped it, you get it, and you grab attention of old people like me that it's like, wow, this sounds like it could have been when I was walking across the campus in high school in the 70s. I mean, it blows my mind. How does that what 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 pushed you in that direction?
I mean, I think most of us grew up in listening to Southern rock. I mean, and you can't deny that, a lot of the music that came out back then is some of the best music out there. So I think we just latched on to that, and continued, kind of what we thought was some of the best stuff out there to um we're packing the van right now. We gotta getting ready. Um, so I think we just it's what we grew up on. I mean, Henry, our guitar player, is an encyclopedia of rock and roll that came out in the 60s and 70s. He knows everything about it, which is pretty impressive. And I know me growing up, I started listening to classic rock, for the majority of getting into music itself. So it kind of just made sense.
Did you do that in spite of what your friends were listening to, or were they into it as well?
No, yeah, that's how we learned about it. Someone would bring um, I don't know, someone would bring a Doors record, someone would bring a Boston record, and Aerosmith. I mean, it's just we were all listening to that stuff together, and someone else would find something new and listen to it. So,
No, that's
yeah,
that's the way it was when I was a kid. Were there any surprises in making this record? I mean, you kind of a veteran now recording, this being your ninth. Still had to be some surprises in there, at least one.
yeah. I mean, I think it's always surprising when you you work with someone who has the ears that Kevin does. The projects that he's worked on, and it's surprising sometimes when you try something out and you think it's great, and it just doesn't seem to translate as much, in certain aspects, and then you try something, you just throw something at the wall and it sticks really well, and it works. There's one track on that record that we just thought was cool, but we didn't put it together yet, and we put it together right in the studio, and it just turned into a different vibe, and turned into one of my favorite songs on the record. It's called Rager, and it was just a lot of fun. So still having the ability to do stuff like that in the studio, so just let music come out of you spontaneously, and then seeing how that works is always a surprise.
It's almost like, and I've talked to people who recorded in, like in Muscle Shoals and some of the
Sure.
historic studios. It's almost like there's some resin left from the past. And I don't mean that in a literal sense, the
Yeah.
resin left from the past sessions in there, and you can just feel the good friend of mine, Andy Timmons, was over at the Abbey Road Studios a few months ago, and it was just using the same microphones as the Beatles did and all that. And it's just like there's a chemistry there. Did you feel that in the studios?
Yeah. There's definitely a vibe when you get in, especially the Village. That is, it's mostly just comfort. Um, just feeling comfortable where you are, and where you are recording. Um, I think helps greatly. You can go into a very sterile studio. It might cost millions of dollars to make, and has everything, state of the art. But you get into a studio where, you know, the greats have walked, and the gear is 30, 40 years old. It was made well for a reason.
Yeah,
And it just, you can feel all that come through, opposed to, going into a sterile place and just not feeling great.
yeah, yeah. What about, you mentioned your favorite song. Which song would you point to on the album as being a calling card for those that would be listening and watching this later who aren't familiar with the band? What song on this album would you point to that says, "Hey, if you like this, you're really gonna love the rest of the record"?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the record is goes through so many motions,
Mhm.
that like there's just the straight up rock and roll song called "Hold On." I love playing it live. I love playing it live more than more than I like the recording of it. But that's usually the case in every song I've ever recorded in my entire life. So that's not saying much. But I think "Give Love" is one of my favorites on the record. I think it has a very simple but amazing message. It's just that we can all use a little more love in the world, and that could go for any aspect of life you want it to go to. And I think it just encaptures like the whole entire band, from the rhythm section to the lead players to the vocals. It just kind of encaptures everything. And it's always fun when after the album comes out, then we hear everyone, they're like, "Hey, this is my favorite song." We're like, "That one is?" Like, that wasn't even on my radar, but that's awesome. So everyone can take their pick and
Yep. Well,
find their
speaking
favorites.
of,
We love to hear about it.
what is the feedback on the whole album so far? What are fans and friends telling you?
Only good things, at least to our faces. So we're happy about it. We recorded it a while ago, so it's awesome that it's finally out, and we're out playing those songs, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, I know with your ties to Kevin and Joe Bonamassa and all that, I've asked
Yeah.
this of other blues artists before, and that is, because blues seems to go through these cycles and waves of popularity, it seems like it's stronger than ever now. And, Americana's been kind of the thing for the last few years. Southern rock, Southern California rock, where it seems to be kind of in that ebb and flow. What's your view of that as far as the state of of
You
country?
know, I I always feel like it's all out there. It's always going on. It just tends to, you hear a song in a certain genre, and you tend to lean into that a little bit. So you discover that all this is happening. Um, that you might not have realized before, and then you hear another song that has a little southern tinge, and you keep kind of going down that river. And then realizing, oh, this is stuff is going on here. So I really just think that it might just be from where I'm coming from, but that there's a lot of great music out there. You just have to hear about it and find it. And when you do, then to some people, it might be, oh man, I didn't know this was happening, and this is really cool. And then you find another band, you're like, man, this is really the new hip thing. But there's bands out there that have been going for a lot longer than we have that are just now kind of getting some sunlight. So
Yeah.
it's fun to find a song that really makes you feel something, and you just keep going down that rabbit hole and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, it helps too for you for bands such as yours to be on with a great label, and Journeyman Records certainly is that. How do you
Yeah,
like being on there? What's it been
it's
like?
great. It's been great. Just they have a great team that works really closely with us. I mean, we're talking to them constantly, every day, if not every other day, just about plans and things, ways to move forward, and making sure we're all on the same page.
Yep, yep,
And making sure we don't get burnt out in any other situations. And the same thing, like I was mentioning with Kev. I mean, we met them on a Joe Bonamassa cruise and became friends. We became, just we started a relationship that had nothing to do with each other's business, really. And then we finally kept talking and kept coming up with ideas and finally came together, which I think is just really organic. It wasn't a nice to meet you handshake, let's work together,
yeah,
and then not even understanding who you're working with, really.
yeah.
Um, so
I saw a documentary of him and Joe together, and they were driving around down in um, Rosedale, I guess it was, or something, somewhere in there in Mississippi, hitting the crossroads in the museums. Joe was driving this classic car, and Kevin was with him, and it just Kevin's vibe, I just thought was just really cool, and just I'm
yeah,
sitting there thinking, man, does he's he's just he's seen it all and worked on it all and big stuff, man. I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm a huge Bonamassa fan and interviewed him a couple of times, but I'm as equally a big a fan, if not bigger, of Kevin just because of his work behind the boards. So,
yeah,
but
yeah. He's pretty incredible.
yeah. So touring now, how long is the tour going to last, and what you got going on for the rest of the year?
Oh, this tour technically, we're home in 2.5 weeks. But we're home for 2 weeks, and then we go back out for three, and then we're home for three, and then we go back out for four. So it's just kind of a constant cycle, um, on the road, and then a couple weeks at home with family, and then on the road again. So we're up in the Northeast right now, over to the Midwest, and then in September we'll start over in Vegas at the Big Blues Bender and work our way through Telluride and ending with Bourbon and Beyond, and then we'll be home for a little bit, and then we'll go back out to Europe for a good 4 week run, which we just got back from Europe 2 weeks ago. So it's the life of the road, and
Yeah,
but it's good. We're finding out what speed we can go without getting burnt out. What we need to accomplish while we're out here, and
yeah,
just keep the fire going.
yep. You got to stay healthy, man. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
that's the biggest one. That's the
Well,
biggest,
I
mentally and physically.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Take care of yourself inside and out. Well, I'm in the Smoky Mountains, so if you ever get around Knoxville, Chattanooga, even Nashville or whatever, man, I'd love to come see you guys perform and meet you in person and all that.
yeah.
But
We'll be in Nashville in September
oh,
for
okay.
Americana Fest, September
Oh,
twenty
that's right.
first.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I'll keep the
Yeah,
eye on the itinerary, and if I can make it there for Americana Fest, I'll, may swing by and see you.
yeah, yeah. Please do.
And if you ever this way or any other new project coming out, man, my door is open to you, man. I love this. I love your work, and
Awesome.
I
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking to you again.
Likewise.
All right, my friend, stay safe and watch out for those Yankees.
Will do.
All right,
All
take
right,
care.
brother.
Bye bye.
Cheers.